Hello, this is a photograph of Ilma Art Studio, and this is our photograph for today, which is taken in Monocliffs Provincial Park in near Orangeville. It's probably 10-15 minutes away from Orangeville, and see how the beautiful colors of fall when they're just beginning, when fall is just beginning. How nice the greens and the orange and the yellow. Hi, how are you today? My name is Ilma, and this is Ilma Art Studio. And the photograph I just showed you is, you could see more of my works at ilmaarts.com. That's ILMAARTS.com. And I'd like to share with you our poem devotional for the day, which is extracted from Romans 1:21. Which says, yes, they know God, but they don't worship Him as God and even thank Him. And they began to think of foolish ideas of what God was like. As a result, their minds became dark and confused. And here is the poem based on that verse. Godlessness leads to darkness. Those who chose to deny God's omnipotence, humility, and gratitude have no meaning or sense. They worship their wealth, possession, and material things. They pretend to know that God actually made everything. They pretend not to know that God actually made everything, They feed their egos and satisfy their pleasures. They are preoccupied in gathering treasures. As a result, they live in darkness and confusion. It leads to a difficult and hard life in oblivion. And here is the essay part of the devotional, which title is Confusion is the Aftermath of Godlessness. What is man without God? Nothing. It is sad to see that so many people today are so deceived by the enemy. To think that one can live life without God is so foolish. Adam and Eve was conned by the enemy to taste the fruit of the forbidden tree by God, and in exchange, what the enemy enticed them with is that they will know everything like God, and that they can become like God. And they were blinded. The devil blinded them, because the devil is the father of all lies. That is talked about in Genesis 1. And Paul, the Apostle Paul, talks about it to the Romans in the first chapter of his book to the Romans. And he actually tell these people that a lot of people are trying to pretend that God does not exist, that He is not there. And because of that, it brought them darkness and confusion. We will never ever be anything without God. Prayer. Lord, keep me faithful to You always. Reflection. Why do you think worshiping God is very important in a believer's life? And here is the testimony part of the devotional. There were periods in my life that I was so ashamed of the sins I did, and the enemy lied to me and put this thought in my head that I'm not worthy to go to worship God and praise Him in church because I was a sinner, and that I will, that I will be almost excommunicated from my religion because of what I did. So I agreed to that lie, and I believed it for so many years. I think almost 7 or 8 years I did. And because of that agreement with that lie, it gave birth to more sins aside from that sin that I first did. And it just went on and on for 8 years. I was just abused, and I allowed myself to be abused because I thought that I was loved by this person, but I wasn't. It was lust. It was sin. It was fornication. Since I did not read the Bible then, I did not know what the truth was. It was very easy for the enemy to hold me captive to all the lies that he was deceiving me to be truth when they are lies. So I will testify that this verse in Romans 1:21, which tells us that when we are lawless or godless, or when we do not acknowledge that there is someone higher than us who has given us everything, we are in for trouble. And mind you, it was a long returning. It's almost like the story of the prodigal son, that I finally went back to God, and it took me giving birth to a son, which was also an aftermath of all my disobedience. But as soon as I had my son, it was my son that God used so I can change my life, and so that I will run to Him, because I went through the darkest pit in my life after I turned my back on Him. Those 7 or 8 years that I did. And then after I went back to serving Him again and having a relationship with Him for the next 10 years after that darkest valley in my life, was my renaissance. It's almost like rebirth. I never thought that I would be a painter. That was the period that I became a painter. I had a career in teaching. And I had a really good career as a mother of a famous violinist, child prodigy, at 7 years old. And that's when I started, our art flourished. Not because I was good, and that because I put hard work on it, but I am sure that with God blessed me because I was faithful, and I related with Him every day, and I sang praises with Him with my son every day, and we read the Bible every day since then. And so my life definitely took a 180-degree turn, a 360-degree turn actually, from really, really dark to light. And couldn't be more thankful to God. But again, after a few, like when you're up there, it's so easy to go down. So after the next lie that the enemy told me is that, oh, you're getting old now, and that you're going to be lonely because your son is getting older, so you need to have somebody. And then I became desperate to find someone. And then I got in trouble again because I did not rely on God, and I listened and agreed to the enemy's lie. So thanks for watching, and that is the end of the devotional for today. And I hope that you will take time out to check my website at ilmaarts.com and find out what God has blessed me with all these gifts of photography and painting and writing. And thanks for watching. Have a blessed night. And I hope that you will be able to worship God and be humble enough to admit and accept that everything you have and anything you have right now can always be taken away from you if you're not faithful and if you don't worship Him. God bless.